Hello, welcome and happy Monday. So, we are very excited to be joined today by one of our supervisees in the Coaching Catalyst Collective, Andy Nisevic. And Andy is a leadership coach and trainer. He's a specialist in leadership development. And we're going to hear from Andy today about his coaching journey, about his work supporting managers to become great leaders, and something very exciting. I won't spoil it, but something very exciting that has happened in Andy's world in the last couple of weeks. So without further ado, we're going to bring Andy on to the stage.
Hello, good morning. Is it good morning? No, it's good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes,
good afternoon. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time out to go live with us and share a bit about you, your work, and the exciting project that you will reveal soon.
Thank you ever so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
So we have a showcase with you previously, but we know that through coaching and through the work that we do, things evolve, things change. So what we'd love you to do is to introduce yourselves to those who are watching over on LinkedIn and over on Facebook about who you are and what you do.
By all means, yes. So again, thank you for having me on. Andy Nisevic. I am a leadership development specialist. And what that means is that I coach, I train, I mentor people at all different levels to enable them to be able to lead each individual effectively. What I found, or what I noticed when I was teaching leadership development in my previous career, which was the RAF, we used to provide world-class leadership training. But I still had so many stories coming to me about such terrible leadership. And what I found through my own research, my own study, is that actually leadership training can give you indicators. It can give you kind of things to look out for. But what it doesn't do is account for the individual, the nuance, the context that applies to each individual circumstance, whether it be the person themselves, the situation you find them in, or the stuff that's going on behind the scenes in their personal life. It just, leadership training on its own just gives you the general stuff to look out for. So I did a lot of study on personality profiles, a lot of study on leadership psychology, behavioral psychology, in order to develop a program that provides all the training that people need, but also then the one-to-one support to enable them to be able to apply that training to the individual, not just become a general leader, which works for some people but doesn't for the most.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. You know, you've got a coaching background as well, haven't you, Andy? So yeah. We learn a lot about how we are looking at the whole person. And so that's really what you've said there. It's not just about their professional, but the personal is also really important. And how can we blend all of that together to create effective leaders? So that's really interesting.
That's right. And leaders, managers, there's an awful lot of bad press out there about managers, people in managerial situations. And often that's unfair. We've got to be realistic. There are narcissists out there. There are people where the toxic label does work. But in my experience, the vast majority of managers that have got that label as being a toxic leader, generally speaking, outside of work, they're good people. They're loved by their family. They're liked by their friends. They've just been promoted to a position they've got no training in, no experience in. They're expected to deliver from day one, and they just don't know what they don't know. So hopefully with the support that I can offer, people like me can offer, we can start eradicating the number of people that have got that label.
That's really interesting. And, you know, certainly when you say they don't know what they don't know, that's a really great place to explore that, isn't it, in coaching? What are the knowns, what's in our awareness, but also what's going on below our sort of conscious level of awareness.
Correct, yeah, because often people will try and emulate other people when they're in that position. They maybe internally they're a little bit unsure, and I certainly remember in my younger days when I got my first couple of promotions, it was like, I've got to put on this mask. I've got to be this person, this strong leader, this person that people can look up to. So you put this mask on in order to just pretend, not pretend, but kind of show up as somebody. But if internally you're full of doubts and that self stories that we tell ourselves, and as coach trainers and coach supervisors, you'll hear all people experience this all of the time. it can be very stressful when you don't have that professional support to go on with. So yeah, that's what people like me, we can provide that support in order to be able to challenge the BS that people tell themselves, in able to support them, and then take the knowledge and learn how to apply that to the individual, is so powerful.
Because sometimes it's just a tool or a technique or learning from other people who have been there and done that can really make the difference, right? You don't know what you don't know until somebody is there to support you in that.
Yeah, and different people have different ways of communicating, different motivators, different things that puts them into conflicts, different ways to bring them out of conflict. Even if they match you as a values match within the workplace, but have got something going on in their personal life that they don't quite feel comfortable talking about, then that's going to affect their performance. And when performance is lowered, as human beings, we tend to go into blame, don't we? And we often internally we might blame ourselves, but then that self-defensive measure kicks in, and we project that blame then onto other people, and straight away those circumstances then just put barriers in. They devalue the trust between manager and team members, and it just becomes a vicious circle from there. Whereas actually all we need to figure out often is just what are the right questions to ask? What is it that we need to understand about what's going on in the moment? And then just come up with the reasonable adjustment in the workplace to ensure that actually the person can thrive and therefore the business can thrive.
And Andy, what do you think are the key characteristics that distinguish somebody as being a leader versus somebody being a manager?
Great question. A question that I often ask people is, what impression do you get if you ask somebody how they're doing and they say they're managing? What impression does that give you? To me, that gives the impression of they're just about getting by. They're not necessarily thriving. They're not necessarily struggling, but they're just maintaining that status quo. And that's what you get with management. Your management is following the process standard. Somebody who leads, they need followers. In order to be a leader, you have to have followers, and followership is a choice. People can choose to follow you or choose not to follow you. So long as they're still hitting their contracted minimum output, then they're doing their job. But that's what management gives you. When you're a leader, people make the choice to put you in that leadership position. And that's when you really start getting people to thrive. But so it's what is it that the other person needs in order to make that decision to make you their leader? Because leadership's got nothing to do with your job title. People choose to follow you or they don't. And a lot of that comes to the way you're able to understand what they need, not necessarily what they want, but what they need in order to be able to thrive.
That's really interesting. Thank you. And I can see now hence the great interest that you have in personality profiling, and because it's all about the interaction of the leader and the people that they are leading, isn't it? It's all about those interpersonal skills.
Absolutely. And DISC is obviously the very, very common one. I think most people that have been through some sort of coaching development training, they'll be familiar with DISC. And it's a fantastic one for understanding just how much information people like, whether it be the big handful, whether it be lots and lots of finer detail, or if somebody likes to have a 5-minute chat before they start talking about work, and you get to learn all that about people, because that's how you improve the interactions. But then there are other profiles that I use that look much deeper into the core of the person, in order to understand, right, this person is going to work brilliantly in an environment where there's lots of noise and there's lots of social activity. They're going to thrive in that environment. Whereas this person, they might be employed in that environment, but they work better when they're able to just be quiet and not disturbed and need to be able to focus. And often conflict an environment that this individual that's been recruited into this environment doesn't thrive within there. So therefore, what reasonable adjustments can be made in order for the talents that this person brings can still benefit the environment that they don't naturally fit into.
So we mentioned at the very beginning that you have been working on an exciting project, and we're really, really proud of you, and you should be really proud of yourself in that journey, because it's no mean feat, right? To publish a book. So Leadership 101, Don't Be a D, 9 steps to building and leading a self-managing team. And I've been looking through on Amazon at the description there of you talking about the 9 key steps that you're taking people through, that you've experienced in your military career, and that you use in your training as well. So tell us a bit more about the book, Andy.
So I won't use the D word, because just in case people don't appreciate that language. But Leadership 101, don't be a D word. It's a play on the irony that actually the more effort that you put into trying not to be one, the easier it is to become one. And the reason for that is because when we're trying to be nice in the workplace, we tend to then start people pleasing. We start to give people what they want, not what they need. So any leader at any level, they're most effective when they're able to balance out what the person needs, what the team needs, what the task needs, and what the company needs. And all 4, and this is very classic John Adair's functional approach to leadership, that is, the great leaders are the people that are able to balance all 4 of those out. What I see happening more often is that people will focus on what the individual needs in order to be liked in the workplace. Because there's a lot of nonsense on social media that tells you that's what you need to be, or certainly gives people the impression that that's what they need to be. Now, being liked and respected are 2 entirely different things. If you can achieve both brilliantly, that's really, really hard, especially 100% of the time, because to please one person, often that means you're going to have to upset somebody else. And we have to be able to balance out what is it the person needs, not what they want. And that's where the term reasonable adjustments come in, because you have a conversation and you're able to dig down into what the actual need is, balance that out against the team, the task, the company needs, and then make the right decisions for all 4, not just the right decisions appreciate just one interest.
Sounds really interesting, Andy. Thank you. And who would you say would be the kind of ideal reader? Who is this book aimed at?
So predominantly, because it's based on the training that I deliver, predominantly I've aimed that at senior management. So whether, depending on the size of the organisation, directors, senior managers, heads of department, that sort of level, because then it gives them the indications of how they can mentor and how to develop their subordinate managers within that organisation. Because obviously people get promoted for being good at the job they were doing, so they need to have people available to them to be able to continue that mentoring and development. So whether that's brought in externally with people like me, or whether it's done in-house. So I've provided that aimed really at senior managers in order to be able to have the knowledge to be able to develop and mentor leadership from within.
Amazing. And to be honest, Andy, I wish that you had been around and I'd had your book when I was in that position in my career, because I think I'm sure it's the same for you, Rebecca, probably same for you, Andy, just promoted and told, right, you're a leader now, and this is your area of responsibility, but probably little or no other input other than that. And I guess a lot of us, as you said, a lot of us kind of learn, don't we, by figuring it out ourselves, but actually to have some strategy, to have some guidance, to have some actual knowledge and information is really, really useful. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. And so even people who receive training, because I received leadership training, it's not just the provision of the training, it's the ongoing support after that that's really invaluable.
Very true.
You said a few things there that resonate with Sarah and I, talking about like reasonable adjustment, talking about the ongoing support that's required, as well as that initial support, right? Sarah, yeah, you're right. I was just thrown in. I figure it out by looking at other leaders and managers and seeing what I liked and what I didn't like, and then trialing and testing. But I can see how working with someone like you, Andy, would have helped me to manage my expectation, my well-being as well. So just to support not only myself, but my team better as well.
Managers are human beings as well. They suffer from burnout and overwhelm and stress in exactly the same way as they're trying to help manage their team. Often that increases their own stress levels.
So on that note, let's wrap up then. So Andy, we always ask those that are doing the showcases where best you hang out, what's coming up for you. So first of all, what's coming up for you and where can people connect with you?
So what's coming up, I am in the process of finalising the editing for online training, so the on demand, available whenever people want and or need it. That will hopefully be promoted in the next month or so. So that's the next big thing that's going on that I'm really looking forward to. Obviously the book launch happens last week before last. I can't remember my dates. I think it was a week before last, and that was absolutely fantastic. And I'm overwhelmed by the support of people in this community and the other communities that I belong to for promoting and supporting that. I was absolutely loved that. So it's kind of how do I build on that really? But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. And I know that you're over on LinkedIn and also over on Instagram as well. So we've popped your links in the comments, and we look forward to celebrating your success, learning more from you as well. So this Thursday, you are doing a learning and development session in the collective. So if anyone's interested in joining that, please do comment below and we'll send you some information. But thank you, Andy. We appreciate you and good luck.
My pleasure. Thank you ever so much again for having me on.
No worries. So that was one of many upcoming client showcases, and we really, really are pleased to showcase Andy and the work that he does over in his business. If you have any questions for Andy, please do get in touch with him or comment below, and I'm sure Andy would look forward to connecting with you too. Over to you, Sarah.
Okay, well, I think that takes us to the end of our live today. Thanks so much, everybody, and we will be back with you soon. But as we said, any questions, any follow-up, if you want to come and join the learning and development session on Thursday, comment here or send us a message and we will send you some more details. All right, take care.